Hello, welcome back to Blender Sushi LiveEnoding. In this episode, I want to share with you a very basic example of how you can create kind of color gradient for shader using Blender. So this is one example. It's very sparkling and glowing. It's very cool. So let's see how I created this. It's actually really simple. You probably already know this. This is actually kind of like a fancy way to do it. We are basically using texture coordinate generated and separated the RGB, and this RGB actually kind of define where the gradient is gonna be. So whether it's vertical, horizontal, or other different axes. And this gradient is something that you can change whether you are using RGB or HSV. So you have a lot of flexibility there, and you can actually use something like a wrap or like all kind of different math here that's probably will give you more gradient. Maybe something like absolute. Where is absolute? Or not absolute, like a modulo. So modulo, you can repeat more. Something like that. But on top of that, for this particular example, I also use normal map and Voronoi texture, and this one can really add the sparkles if you really want it. So yeah, nothing particularly hard with this, but I'm gonna show you another different way to do this. So if you, let's say you want to give gradient color into this box, right? There is a more manual way to do this. It's kind of unusual, but also something that's good to know. So you go to image editor, create new. So by default, of course, it's just like a black square. And let's say you want to paint it with gradient. You already learned this in the previous video. I have this B painter installed with me, but I'm just gonna use this gradient. I'm gonna show you that you can actually do this. It's very unusual, but also works. And you want to draw like a line going down. So the stroke by default is space. Change it to line. Oh, that's not yet a gradient because we need to change this to maybe clamp, and the gradient space maybe 400 pixel. Yeah, that's probably better, but maybe let's make it 800. So that's one gradient. Let's make it another one. Change this to different color. Maybe red to yellow. Just make a couple of gradient. I learned this technique from a couple of my YouTube friends. We can use HSV, and maybe color clockwise or counterclockwise. So this one's really like rainbow color. Purple and pink and orange. Okay, couple of gradient. Image, save as gradient. So this can be like your starting template. And then with this cube, if you go to hit tab, you can see the UV. That by default is like this cross. We just gonna jump into UV editor, and for this guy, this material, we're gonna assign the gradient template. And if we switch our texture, of course, it's gonna look like out of whack. But I'm gonna show you here. from the front view in edit mode, hit view and then project from view bounce. Now we have this, of course. But if you scale this down, SX, scale it down to maybe like 0, you have just a single line, and you suddenly have a gradient on your cube. Let's make a couple. And for each cube, let's save this as gradient manual. For each cube, we can actually give a single user material, and then just simply change the UV. Actually, the material can be the same, just the UV needs to be changed. So that's I was wrong there. Just use a single material, and for each one of these, you just simply put the gradient in using the UV. Very cool, right? Very easy technique. It's very unusual, I say, but it works as well. And you can change the gradient simply by scaling the U or the UV. So this is very, very powerful, even though it's really strange way to work. So if you have like a monkey, so monkey have this UV that you can kind of just squeeze down and just give a gradient to it. So for each island, for example, I just zero it out. This guy also SX0. This is the eyeball of Suzanne. If you want like a circular gradient, there's probably a different method, but for now, this is one way you can work. Design the same material, so you already have something that looks like gradient. So let's use this one. So yeah, that's basically how it works with this kind of technique. It's very strange, like I said, the way it works, but it works. Like with this, you actually have control over the gradient very, very quickly, and it creates certain type of artwork, kind of style. You don't always want to paint your assets like this, but if you want, it's working like this, and then you can simply bake it. File, export, bake USDZ. I think this should work. Oh, okay. It's black. Why is that? Because maybe because of the material. File, export, GLTF. Well, anyway, that's don't worry about that. But basically, you can export it out as USDZ. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.